Hello community, we're back today with Abundance of Hope video blog series, Just Look video blog series. Today we're discussing the topic of Black nepotism. So I thought we would just start off by discussing our understandings of nepotism. I know that though I had been confronted with nepotism throughout my life, you know, our family used to shop at Walmart. We used to see mom and pop stores in our neighborhoods, that kind of thing. I was never really formally introduced into the concept of nepotism until I was actually in college. And that's when, you know, it really opened up to me that nepotism was kind of a system that you use to pass down property or other forms of capital and wealth through your generations. So obviously this was something that I saw hugely missing from the Black community, but I was able to see nepotism pretty much everywhere else that I looked. There was nepotism. So I was really excited to start participating in Black nepotism as soon as I could because I see the value in it. And so now that we have Abundance of Hope that has been founded by our mother, and then, you know, we've worked ourselves up into positions now that we are able to be a part of the Abundance of Hope team too, I'm actually really excited to be participating in Black nepotism and seeing the joy and the power in it, and the ways that Black nepotism is already changing my family, the way that we're starting to address, you know, generational trauma, the way that we're starting to say, you know, some of these things need to end so that our family can progress in these ways. You know, now that we have our nonprofit and we're doing so much work in the community and we're so inspired, we're thinking of, you know, more ways, additional businesses that we can open, skill sets in our family that can be used to gain capital and to gain and passions that can be used to gain capital and to open doors for our family. So I'm really excited about the concept of Black nepotism personally.
It was late in life when I learned of the concept of nepotism, even though I remember discussing it when I was younger, because I would assume Black Wall Street had some form of nepotism to be able to build. And I did learn that concept too, that nepotism allowed groups of people to build. Because really, if you think about it, ideally, if your family doesn't back you and they have the means to, there's something a little bit, we should be backing each other. I'll put it that way.
There's a concern.
I know where there is a concern, because anti-Blackness, we all are affected by it, even within our own households and our own communities. So, yeah, so many different layers that we can go on about this, because I thought about colorism too. But I think nepotism works well also. But my philosophy in any type of business, if you don't have a passion or a love for what you're doing, you're probably doing the people you're serving a disservice. So even with nepotism being said, I have 10 daughters, 2 of them are here. And it's because of their passion for helping at-risk youth, you know, recognizing the struggle that they had, even having a mother who was involved, and I had to learn to be, because of behaviors that I was taught, you know, through education and work experiences, working in the school districts, working with kids with special needs, taught me a whole lot of different skills and parenting skills that I adapted into my household. And so, with that being said, if the person doesn't have a passion or the qualifications, I don't agree with just because that's my brother, my sister, my mother, that form of nepotism. But nepotism, but nepotism is actually a good thing when you share the same values, the same concepts, and the same passions, because Selena, when she was in the 6th grade, saw me. I would take her, and Marissa would go with me to work when I worked in special education. I wanted them to get to see other groups of marginalized people who people were prejudiced against, and to see how normal they really are, even though they have special needs. They're still people just like you and I.
I actually really enjoyed that too as a child. Yeah.
And so,
having that exposure.
Yeah, and that's my view on nepotism. If the people have the same passion as you do, going to it. We have people in our family who have different passions, and yes, we want to support them in their passions too. So, I mean, that's how families build. And we want to build our communities, you know, to support and help each other.
And honestly, nepotism is a great way to do that because, quite frankly, like, you have 12 children. So that's a lot of different skills, a lot of different passions, a lot of different talents to really build off of. So, and there's power in numbers. We already know that. So nepotism is a great tool. I definitely don't see anything wrong with it, especially when your nepotism goes hand in hand with, education and skill set and passion and ethics. So, yeah, that's basically my only thought on it.
Yeah, my, honestly, with all of that said, I really am surprised sometimes by the way that people in the community will respond to Black nepotism, and that's real. Like, both within the Black community and outside of the Black community, Black nepotism, I feel, is put under a microscope that in any other community, no one's even batting an eye about.
Blackness is put under a microscope.
Oh,
Black
wow.
womanhood is put under a microscope. So that's all part of anti-Blackness. Like, nepotism isn't special in that way that, it's just a special kind of eyeglass on that or whatever. It's just part of anti-Blackness. So with anti-Blackness, there's going to be anti-Blackness in our professional fields, anti-Blackness in the different genders, anti-Blackness in our different sexual orientations, anti-Blackness in literally anything. And unfortunately, nepotism is not, going to be excused from that. So in that, Black nepotism is great. We need to challenge anti-Blackness, and then that's when we'll get away from having the pushback and the stigma around Black nepotism, because there's going to be pushback in anything that we do, especially as Black women, because we all know who's the most attacked and who's the most undervalued, and honestly, who's the greatest, really, is what I'll say, is Black women. So obviously, there is always that spotlight on us, and that
extra critique of
any single thing that, like, just sitting there breathing or having the audacity to feel like we can own our own bodies and our own sexualities, which is
in our own narratives,
entire different conversation. But either way, it's all part of anti-Blackness, and that extra step of being Black women, there's going to be that extra critique on it because
And see, that's really interesting when I look at the whole term anti-Blackness, and I think I look at the eras and being my age, and my perspective on anti-Blackness is where it really hurts is when it's within our own community. Because growing up in South Central, I was only around people who looked like me. So I only got treatment from people who look like me. And then when I went outside that and lived in Vancouver, Washington, which I have to say in Portland, Oregon was a culture shock, because I didn't know our kind wasn't welcome here, and our kind wasn't welcome there, and no, I really didn't. And the discrimination, I got to feel the racism, and the questioning looks on everything we do. And so I kind of accepted that as part of history. These people are all predominantly white. They know nothing about us. So everything we do, like you said, is scrutinized. Like I was saying, when I worked in the shelter and the little Black kid came in there, he was loud. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, he's loud because he comes from South Central. I understand that you get around Black Latinos, a lot of us, we're loud. You get around drunk white people and they're very loud. We just are less pretentious. So when we're together, we just who we are. Excuse me. So, I lost my train of thought, so maybe you want to pick up. I'm trying to figure out, I'm still got a cold. Okay.
Well, it's just the whole deal. Black nepotism, not bad.
Well, not the nepotism, the anti-Blackness is what to me is what drives behind the negative of nepotism, like you said, when it comes to Black people, because there's so much nepotism in our society.
There are so many family, and the thing is,
our presidential whole setup now is nepotism. Already, and obviously you don't even have to have the skills if you're a particular person to have the nepotism. At least I look at,
if you lack melanin.
If you like melanin, but I think you should have the skill set to whatever you're doing, even if it's in nepotism. I'll rewind back to that, because if you don't have the qualifications and the skills,
it becomes a shit show.
It's detrimental. It's detrimental to that population that you're claiming to want to serve. And so I wouldn't have people in my family involved in anything simply because that's my family member. You know, I would want them to have that passion. That, like I said, it brings me back to you wanting to do this since you're in the 6th grade, and Marissa wanting to do it, and just her having the passion to do the programs. You know, managing the whole Abundance of Hope, and saying, because she's so functional. You know, and everything with her is just function, operations. Yeah, and she's so good. She has she has a passion for her community too. So it's only fitting that she gets here. And I mean, we have some others that in our family who really have a passion, but not, I wouldn't say the dedication that you guys have sacrificed both a lot, you know, for Abundance of Hope.
And that's another part of nepotism. It's easier to get your family to work for you for free than it is to get a stranger.
Well, not
sometimes.
really, because that's what I'm saying. You guys sacrifice to be here. Yeah.
Well, a lot of the time, it's not really easy to get people to work for you for free.
That's
period.
it.
Or to work for free. Period.
That's a sacrifice.
I mean, some people do volunteering, but not really so much on a full-time basis, or even really that much on a part-time basis. So it's basically you have to have some other motivational force aside from, you know, that monetary value that's put on
that passion for what you're doing.
Yes, exactly. And for me, that passion comes from wanting to see my community uplifted more than anything. Wanting to see my family uplifted more than anything. So
absolutely. Yeah, for me, honestly, it's the exact same thing. I'm not comfortable. I'm enraged. I'm saddened. My heart mourns daily because of what my community goes through. And honestly, that's my motivation. Every single day, my community is suffering. Someone in my community is dying. And they're never going to get justice for it at the hands of this system. And that is not okay with me. I don't rest easy when that's happening, which is always. So ask me when I've gotten a good night of sleep in my life. You know what I mean? Like, I'm plagued by what's happening to my community. And I cannot rest while this is happening to my community. So I will not rest until I can. And until my community is taken care of, until my community has resources, until my community is thriving, you're going to see me out here working.
Yeah.
And until my community has received reparations.
Yeah.
Ashe.
And I too have a passion for my community. Is just working with young people and working with youth and really taking into perspective that these young people that we're meeting and we're running into, especially out in the homelessness, and they build up this bitterness, this resentment against authority, against, you know, society. They build up hopelessness, and I don't want to see our future with all this despair.
So bleak.
You know, so bleak. And they are our future. You know, we need to be there for them. And as a woman, like I said, watching the struggle with my own kids coming up with just me as a parent, you know, in a single parent household, it broke my heart. And I'm like, it was a struggle, and it was a sacrifice for the kids, not even just me, things I had to do, but it was a sacrifice in the family. And I would like to really alleviate that, especially in our communities with all the brokenness. When you have the youth that are running away and they're out in the streets because of the dysfunction in the households that has been bred into our household and became normal, thus the denormalizing violence. You know, there's so many layers to just Abundance of Hope that I want to utilize to heal our communities, to help our communities. And those youth that are out there that are being put into these detention centers, Abundance of Hope is a way to stop that. You know, this is an open place where they can come to and they can be themselves, whoever themselves is, and feel safe
and not
and
be preyed upon.
Yeah, and definitely ain't gonna be no preyed upon and exploitation. Yeah, because they are future. And they're misunderstood, and they are in a system that's literally designed for them to fail. They would rather build a jail, and like I said, it's not a secret anymore who these jails have been built for.
Well, it also goes back to that being the problem and the solution. So if you are part of the dominant society that historically, presently, trying to in the future oppress you cannot be the solution for oppressing, aside from
donating your money,
like putting your money towards what actually is, or putting your support and your resources towards what actually is, and realizing that you cannot
and
lead
help
that.
dismantle the system that was built.
Exactly.
They can do that. They can work
Exactly.
to dismantle the system that was built by their forefathers to suppress.
Yeah,
with the understanding that you can never lead the movements that are going to be the
and
solution.
also with the understanding that with you continuing to try to, you're perpetuating this system, feeding into it every day, attributing to it, sustaining it, the reason why it is still existing. So while we have to realize that modern day white folks maybe did not set up this system, they do maintain it.
Uphold
Whether you're maintaining it and upholding it consciously or unconsciously, you are maintaining this system. Thus, you need to do something to this.
And let's toss out some ways, because maybe they don't understand how to maintain it. Like when you have these meetings with people that are in these high positions.
Well, that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, it is. But we're gonna have to get into that one, because
there are many ways in which we will do a whole separate video about what white folks can do to support movements. But for now, I do want to say that Black nepotism is a counter system that Black people and Black communities should be employing to build back up our community. It is something that we can do. We can support each other. A part of the whole wave of like buying Black, buying Black is amazing. And that's a huge part of building up equity and capital and resources in our community. Another way is supporting nonprofits. You know what I mean? Like nonprofits who are going to come in and cater our community. And they're going to cater our community in a way that, WIC did when it was first invented by the Black Panther Party, not in the way the WIC does now that it's been taken over and adopted by a system that does not care about the population that WIC was started to serve. Exactly. Right? So we need to get back to our social services, and we need to support our social services, our businesses, and that's a way that we can systemically build back up our community.
Because as a community, we are a family. Like our community is our family.
Yeah.
So that
Our
nepotism
tribe
is our entire community. And we have so many skills, we have so many passions, we have so many talents. Let's use that.
We got this. We do.
Yes, we can use that within our family. Use our skills, use our talents,
collaboration over competition,
professions. We can use all of that to build our community and to rebuild our family.
And that brings us to some of the partnerships that we have, and we'll be introducing and having Facebook time or camera time with some of our community partners, so you'll get to meet some wonderful other nonprofit grassroots that are coming up that have that passion to heal our community.
So again, I'm Selena,
Marissa,
Pamela,
and it was great spending time with you, community.